Anita, how's your mental health?
Questionable at all times. You know this.
Yeah, how's the mental health of your children?
Also a little bit tricky. Can I tell you my experience in trying to find therapists for myself and my kids, Mel?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is how it goes. You ask around your friends and your family for a referral for somebody who's nearby. You finally find somebody who sounds like they might work for your family. You give them a call and you find out that A, they're not accepting new patients, or B, they have a huge wait list. So you start over again and you ask people if they know anybody who would be a good therapist and a good fit. Finally, you find one, you go and you meet with them and you figure out that you don't actually like them that much. But it's been so much work to find somebody who you can go to in your area that you're kind of stuck with them. Well, do you have any ideas for how to get around this?
I do because guess what? I've actually had some therapists that I have found on my own, which involves what you're saying. Sometimes I remember one time I was like 3 hours in the bathtub on my phone looking
Yeah.
through websites. I was such a prune at the end. But I have also had the experience with working with BetterHelp. And it was like, I don't want to say too good to be true, but because it is true, but it's like amazing because I was matched with my therapist within 24 hours.
And you didn't have to go through all of that other ridiculous process of trying to find somebody. And here's the cool thing too, is if that person didn't work out for you, you can just switch and say, and it's not like you're committing to another years long search for somebody who you're going to jive with.
It's true. And I lucked out, or maybe just BetterHelp is really good at matching people together because I never had to change my therapist. I loved her. Perfect fit for me. And I know that some of our friends have used BetterHelp and they've had to change therapists, and boom, same day, you can change.
Easy peasy.
You can ghost your therapist. Get a new one.
I love this idea. BetterHelp is one of our sponsors. If you use our promo code trybetterhelp.com/WWDN, you get 10% off your first month. And we totally recommend it.
Yes, get some therapy. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. Freaking Anita,
Mel,
you're alive.
where are you? I don't even know where you are.
I'm in Arizona right now.
Okay, that's random.
And last time I saw you, you were in Utah. But
Uh-huh.
I was sure in Utah for a long time and you were not there and you've
I
been gone.
know. Yeah, I was gone for a good while. We went on our cruise. It was a lot of work. And also, I'm so proud of myself for doing it. And we had a lot of fun. So it was like all the things.
Yeah, tell us about it and we can talk about me later. Yours is
Okay.
way more exciting.
Well, I mean, it was just my one son got seasick. So he was like really unpleasant to be around. And I feel bad for him, but also he was like, if I'm not having fun, nobody's gonna have fun. Kind of a
Wait,
thing.
which one?
You know, you can
Oh,
guess.
I know. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But it was, I'm gonna say, without the seasickness, it was the perfect vacation for us because everybody was contained. Like you couldn't get off the ship unless, you jumped off the ship, which we did have a talk about. I was like, everybody's feet need to stay on the ground, no climbing. So we had that discussion. So that was good. And they could eat whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. I didn't have to find food for them. There was like entertainment for them. It was great. I would go back and do that in a heartbeat
I
as
feel
a
like
widowed parent. Yeah.
if anybody fell off the ship, it would be number four because he would jump off the ship.
Yeah. Yeah. But I specifically, and one time he did like kind of pull himself up on a railing, but the railings were high. It was a Disney cruise. It's meant to have kids on it. So like that was good. And one of the coolest things that I was so happy about was they were even good about letting me leave the ship and I got to go scuba diving and they took care of my kids in the kids club, which is like such a huge thing when you are never without them. You know what I'm saying? It's like so freeing, but at the same time, I had lots of anxiety when I actually did it. But I was like so thankful that I got to do that because some of those things seem like they've been closed to me, like will never happen again. And so when you get like a little glimmer of, no, maybe my life isn't, those things aren't closed to me forever, it feels good.
Yeah.
Yay. I saw an eel. I saw turtles, Mel. I saw stingrays. I saw lots of cute fishies.
And
It
you
was the
didn't get
best.
stung by any of them.
No, I did get a little jellyfish buzz though on my hand, so that was
Oh.
interesting.
Well,
It wasn't
welcome
bad.
back. How's
Thank
re-entry
you.
been for you?
I am so confused right now. Like, I don't know what day it is. I mean, and then we had a holiday right afterwards, and so my kids didn't go to school. So I'm just like, what is this? Where are we? And yeah, so it's been a little weird.
They still haven't gone back to school, right? They
No,
go back
no.
Wednesday.
Yes, which means they've been out of school since December 20th.
Oh my
Poor planning
gosh.
on this mom's part. But
Or good planning on that mom's part.
no,
Whatever.
bad planning for me. I want to start. I feel like I've learned a lot of things doing solo travel with the kids, and I think I need to start like making videos about like tips for doing that.
Do it.
Yeah.
You have an audience.
Cool. Yeah. Why are you in Arizona?
Well, I kind of just like to leave a lot
Mhm.
to deal with stress because there's a lot of stress in my home life. And so this is one of my trips. So if any of you have listened to all of the episodes of our podcast, you might remember from episode 28, my friend whose son had a brain tumor taken out and now he is pretty incapacitated. And so I'm visiting them. They're good friends. And you know what is so interesting? It's interesting to go from my house, a house of trauma, to their house, a house of trauma. And it's like we get all the same food, protein shakes. Like it's so funny, and like everyone's digestion is kind of messed up, and the way that we cope is the same. And the story, if you guys don't know, so my friend's son, they're not sure if he's ever going to get all his faculties back and capacity back, and he is doing better incrementally. So there is progression. And he basically went from being a kid that was like star athlete 4.0 kid, student body president, to like he can't control anything. And sometimes he's had like psychosis because of the wrong meds and stuff like that. Yeah. Like it's neurology stuff. So it's been interesting because I haven't seen him for a little bit. He is progressing quite a bit from my perspective, but of course they live the day to day.
Right.
And so my friend and I talk and we're like, grief is so weird and trauma is so weird because like they're grieving what they had. All the kids are in trauma because they lost the version of their brother that they knew. And also they're like, Mom, I need you to pay attention to me. And she's like, I'm trying to make sure your brother doesn't die. And so, there's like a lot of conversations about that and hard feelings. So really interesting. And it's open-ended. Like you don't know if he's going to die. You don't know if he's going to fall and die. You don't know if he's going to heal like to a point where he can be independent. So it's just like the hypervigilance is full on here. So, but they have let me and my dog Scotty come down, and it's been raining the whole time. And I brought my skateboard to skateboard, and I haven't done it at all.
Oh,
because it's been pouring. Yeah, so I actually drive back tomorrow and we'll come back to the snow and resume my routine of indoor skateboarding, I guess. But yeah, I need to get out because there's always something happening at our house that involves a hospital or trauma.
So can we talk about something else that happened in the world that it happened a little while ago, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it?
Yeah, I can't even remember. Will you remind me?
Maybe you might not have heard about it, Mel, because you just like hide in a bubble all the time.
Well, you tell me
but
things.
The football player that collapsed on the field.
Oh, yeah.
And they had to do CPR on him. I know that has been really triggering for a lot of people.
And he's alive.
Yeah.
Let's say that.
Especially for people who had to do those things on their own person. And I just want to give people a hug and be like, I'm so sorry that you get to experience that through like the general public's lens also, because like some of the commentators and some of the things I've read, it's just hard to read their takes on it. And for instance, saying things like, oh, he's so lucky that he got excellent care so quickly. And you're like, yes, he is. And also sometimes that doesn't matter, and it looks like he's doing really well, but that's not always how it goes. And so there's like a lot of push and pull in this situation, people comparing it to their own situations and just feeling a lot of reopened trauma from their own experiences. So, and it's been interesting because it's like the world kind of takes ownership of that trauma, even though they don't really have a lot of ownership of that trauma, and they haven't experienced that actual trauma before.
And also in the meantime, this is going to impress you, Anita, that I know this.
Oh, good.
Recently, since that has happened, an Air Force football player was walking on campus and died.
Oh, I didn't. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
That was probably while I was off the grid.
Probably, but I'm proud of myself that I even knew that, because I was checking to see how the first guy was doing, and then that came up. So yeah, our hugs are going out to all of you who got re-traumatized by that. That's hard. It's very real.
I chose not to watch it. I chose to kind of separate myself from it. I didn't really want to put myself in the mix of that. So I just kind of stepped away, and I feel good about that.
Way to go, taking care of your own mental health, Anita.
And it's not like I can do anything for the situation. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like it would have been helpful for me to step into the situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's not going to make him better. So I'm just going to not go there. So
yeah. Now, I think the last time that you and I recorded this blah blah was before your trip, but it came out while you were on your trip.
Yeah.
So we had just had Christmas.
Right.
And my dad's first death anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
And now what is it? 3rd week of January or something? Happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody.
Yes. Which I celebrated by getting called into work. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Boo. Yeah.
We also failed to mention that there was a Zoom hang last weekend, but thanks to those who showed up. Did anyone show up? It was nice. Did you go?
Yeah, I did.
For real?
Yeah, for real.
Oh yeah, because I was driving and I couldn't. Yeah, I remembered because you reminded me, and I was driving like 12 hours.
Well, I only remembered because somebody else was like, "Are we doing these?" And I was like, "What day is it? What month is it? What year is it? I don't even know what's going on." But yeah, we got it taken care of. Always good to get to see some new faces and the people who are our stalwarts. It's a really supportive place to be. So those happen on the 2nd Saturday of every month. So put it on your calendar.
And it's so funny because then people in the Widow Wives Club were like, "Wait, does this always happen?" And so, because we have people in there that I don't think know that we are a podcast. So we have to say, "Hey, you're in a group that's a subset of podcasts." Yeah. So if you are one of those people and you are a new listener, but are familiar with the Widow Wives Club, welcome. Hopefully you can kind of get the swing of things. It's really easy. You just listen. That's it. Or fast forward, whatever you want.
Guys, it's time for you to submit new stories to us. So this time around, we want to hear your crazy dating stories. If you've run into weird profiles, or you've had awkward messages back and forth from the dating apps, if you've had dates that have gone terribly sideways, we want to hear about those, because none of us thought we would be dating at this point in our lives, right? No. And a lot of us are pretty pissed that we're having to deal with this. So
I would like to
laugh
say
about it.
I'm retiring forever. No more. And if you submit the conversations that you guys have had, we're going to reenact them so beautifully.
Yes. So please email those to us, widowsnow@gmail.com. I think that's our email address, isn't it, Mel? Yeah. So please, we want to hear all the crazies.
Yeah.
Do it.
Can they also send it into Messenger?
Sure.
Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger.
Whatever. Just send them. We'll try and get them. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's spread some laughs and have some camaraderie over terribleness. Because why not? We'll make it fun.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Do you guys want to keep the podcast going?
Do you like it that much that you want it to continue?
then check out Patreon. It's a platform that allows you to do just that. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
There are 4 tiers, the tiers of the widow. Actually, we have way more than 4 tiers in our body, but this is all we can have for that. But it starts at $5 and goes all the way up from there. And one of the perks you get if you join at the Widow Bestie level, which is $10 per month and up, is a shout out in episode and ad-free content. So check it out. I mean, even if you join at a level above that, of course you get all those things, but at the very least, $10 per month.
All right, let's do our shout out, shall we? Our first dead husband is a secret dead husband, so we always make her up a silly song. And today, the silly song is I Like Big Widows and I Can't Deny.
That was good. That was good. Constance Dahlbeck,
David Kelly,
Don Satterwhite,
Emily Wesenberg,
Evelyn Flores,
Gail Bell,
Heather Mullins,
Ivan the Misner,
Kat, we love you.
Krista Waite.
We also love you. We love you all. Just assume that.
You're going to get in trouble.
Maya Glasser.
Neil Hooper.
Neil, I need to see what color your hair is. Mine is 2 colors of teal. Send me a picture. Text me. Becky Ziba.
Sam Finlayson.
The Winehouse, Karen Cornejo.
Amber Elenez Vela.
Amy Hartman Martell.
Amy Neal.
Ashley Hahn.
Barbara Schneeberger.
Brandy Younger.
Brittany Pedro.
Chris Steffen.
Cindy Wilkerson.
Aunt Connie Remich.
Danielle Catterberg.
Not a Debbie Downer.
Dennis Brazo.
Jean Marie Massey.
Jen O'Brien.
Jenny Taylor.
Jennifer Beal.
Jennifer Brown.
Jesse Johnson.
Carol Schultz.
Laura Aguirre Penner.
Lauren Old. What color is your hair now, Lauren?
Lisa Hardman Powell.
Lou Clausen.
Marie Hoffman. Oh.
Our aunt. M.K. Anderson.
Meg Murto.
Patricia Wiest. What? What was that? Did you just pirate ARG?
Rachel Barbosa. I don't know what happened right there.
Happy birthday, Rachel. Anita's a pirate, I guess. Sarah Morris.
Simone Fu.
Sunshine Haven.
Alicia McAllister. Oh.
Yeah. Amy Burke.
Anne Drennan.
Anna Tracy.
Audrey Henniger.
Serena. Ty's wife for life. Welcome.
Christina Scambato.
Christine Anderson.
Cindy Raynaud.
Don Barber.
Debbie Fells.
Deborah Westwood.
Diana Becker.
Okay, how do you say it?
Okay, she sent us instructions and I had to read them 14 times.
You get a
Doris Reichel.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Did I get it right?
Doris Reichel. Is that how you say it?
Reichel. Yeah, I think.
Ooh. Well,
tell us if we're wrong again.
Yeah.
Help us.
We'll try it better next time. Eileen Stevens Dem.
Emily Toledo.
Eric Vandermeulen.
Aaron Posick.
Gabe Lozano.
Gia Benoit.
Gina Haas.
Ian Sini.
Ilyana Bell.
Jackie, hi. Oh, we got a message on this one. It's Jan Colarusso. Colarusso. Steely. Jan Colarusso. Oh no, now I've got it wrong again.
Listen,
Colarusso.
That has to be Italian, right,
It
Jan?
is.
Well,
Jan?
I feel like we got it last time.
I can't remember now.
Because I said it. I'm the best.
Okay, good.
Just kidding. Yane. That's Jane, for those that don't know.
Another secret patron.
Jennifer Davis.
Jenny Armstrong.
Jenny Barrow.
Jenny Dippold.
Oh, at Jesus Jocelyn Venmo. Jocelyn Milo.
Johnny Walker.
Judy Malkin.
Julie Stevenson.
Karen Ochoa.
The wheels are coming off, you guys. Karina Jacobo.
Kathy Murray.
Katie Getz.
Katie Radcliffe.
Kara Scara.
Kevin Ferrie. It's your episode today.
Ooh, Chris Morgan.
Laura Keeley.
Lindsay Kanapka.
Fine Marjorie Lewis.
Marianne Hammond.
Marianne McDonald.
Mary McGowan.
Melissa Bowers.
Melissa Hancock.
Naomi Brown.
Rachel, just Rachel.
Rebecca Olemaker.
Robin Flam.
Stacy Saywert.
Tammy Terravest.
Tara Wallace.
Trenton Thompson.
Valerian Coton de Tuliar Packer.
And finally we have yo ho Weddy.
AIDS.
Thank you to everybody for bearing with us when we're disasters and can't even read names. Thank you to all our patrons. You really do make this possible for us to keep the podcast going, and we couldn't do it without you.
Yeah. If you would like to support the podcast but do not want to join Patreon, please consider buying us tacos at buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonoww.
And if those things don't work, give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. It really does make a difference. So thanks for doing that too.
Yeah. And if you don't want to do that, it's chill.
Yeah,
just be
we
cool.
still
Be
love
nice. Be nice to somebody today or yourself.
Should we get to the episode?
Maybe.
All right, let's do it. I'm Anita.
Okay. I'm Mel.
We're two young widows.
We're
we don't
back.
know what's going on. And we're just trying to figure out widow.
We
do
now. This episode is sponsored by the Misner Family Foundation in memory of Elisabeth Misner.
Sometimes we assume that unless we had a huge life insurance payout, we don't really need to know anything about investments or even finances. But guess what? A little knowledge of finances is critical for all of us. Maybe your partner was in charge of that stuff, and now you find yourself making all the decisions. Maybe you're mad about that. Maybe I am. Nicole from the He's Gone But the Money's Not podcast is here to help. She tackles financial literacy by telling the stories of women and widows and finance experts, and shares the lessons they've learned as certified financial planners. Whether you know a lot and feel confident in your financial decisions or feel unsure about all of that stuff, there is more to learn. Listen and subscribe to the He's Gone But the Money's Not podcast on all podcast platforms. This ad was paid for by Rockhouse Financial, an SEC registered investment advisor. Today we have a guest that I'm excited to talk to. It's always funny. We talk about how it's such a bummer that we quote unquote meet people, but they've died, and we're super bummed because we don't get to meet them when they're alive, and we only met them because they died. And that's one of the cases we have here. So joining us today is Kevin Ferrie. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, how are you today?
We're good. I'm good. I don't know, Mel.
Are you saying that you're glad to meet Kevin because he's dead? Because that's what it sounded like.
We met his wife through him, quote unquote, met her, but we don't get to meet her because we only met her through him. And it's a bummer.
And she was the cool one of the family for sure.
We have to get to know her. And you, where do you live? Where are you right now?
I am just outside of Portland, Maine.
Right.
The other Portland.
The original Portland.
I guess that's true.
East Coast Portland.
Do you get snow there, or is it coastal enough that you don't get a lot of snow?
It depends on the year. The mountains got crushed with snow early, and it's been all rain for the last couple of weeks. So it's tough. When they say the East Coast is the ice coast, that's really true.
Well, Kevin, what do you do for your job?
My job, I retired from the Coast Guard, active duty.
Wow.
In 2015. And I worked in the port of Portland, Maine at some terminals for a while. And now I'm back with the Coast Guard as a civilian, and I oversee recreational boat building. So I get to visit boat builders and make sure they're building and they're safe, and, electrically they're not going to catch fire, or they're going to float if they flood, and work with boat builders and write regulations to help them.
Do you ever get people who they build a boat and you're like, there's a giant hole, this is not going to work? Or are they usually smarter than that?
They're usually smarter than that. But we do get some things that are not, like, you scratch your head at for sure. Like with navigation lights, and, the lights are supposed to be angled the right way. And I've seen navigation lights turn 90 degrees so they shoot to the sky and not out, so nobody would see them.
Oh, wow.
It's for the
aliens, yeah.
Yeah, it's to signal
Fair
the
enough.
alien. Yeah, rescue.
They're just forward thinking.
Yeah.
Well, that's a cool job, it sounds like. Good luck with the aliens.
It's a fun job. It's my passion, one of my passions. So I enjoy it a lot.
All right, let's turn our attention towards your rad person who we only know through your writings, and we don't actually get to know her.
Well, her name is Stephanie, and we met. She went to school. She grew up in Massachusetts, which is why ultimately I'm in New England, because I grew up in Florida. And yeah, I was stationed in Tampa and she was in college down that way. And we met. And I was a few years older than her, not, I think 5 school years older than her, or 4.5 years apart. And she was in college and I was working, and we dated a few times, but then she thought I was immature, and I don't know why, because she was a young one. But we stopped seeing each other. And a few years later, about 2 years later, I was in graduate school. I took a break to go to graduate school, and I saw her on Regis and Kelly. I think it was Regis and Kelly at the time.
What?
Cool.
Literally, like randomly, she was working nights as a nurse. She was a labor and delivery nurse, and her colleagues convinced her to apply for Match.com, win a dream date on Regis and Kelly. And she was on the show, like vying with, I think it was 3 or 4 other women vying for a date. And for her, it was some NASCAR driver. Yeah, and I saw her and I'm like, are you kidding me? What? So then I reconnected with her. She didn't win the date. And we talked for like a year, just random, because she was back in New England and I was at Michigan. And then we connected after about a year, and like we're engaged 4 months later.
So she gave you time to mature, apparently, I guess.
Yeah, but who's mature? She was on dream date with Regis and Kelly.
I know.
I guess that's the point.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Tell us why she's so cool.
She goes after it, right? Like it was hard. Like I think with all your friends or in your life or with your partner, you might say something like, someday I'd love to do something. I don't know, whatever it is you want to do. Someday I want to hike the Appalachian Trail. Like if I said that the next day, like she'd be like, when do you start training? Like, for what? She's like, you're hiking the trail, right? I'm like, I was just talking. But no, she gets after it. And, she really loves to live her life, or loved to live her life. I still talk in the present. I think most of us do. With conviction, against societal norms. We homeschooled our kids from birth, pretty much birth. We never thought we would, but the first week of school just didn't go well for our oldest, and we have 4 children. And she pulled them out 1 week, first grade, and we homeschooled from there on. And not because we didn't like the teachings or for biblical reasons, because, if it was a beach day, she wanted to have the kids at the beach. If it was a snow day, we were on the mountain.
Yes.
Yes. So, and it worked out amazingly well. In 2011, I was active duty Coast Guard still, and I got transferred from Portland, Maine, because that's where we first started here, and he fell in love with it, down to Washington, D.C. And if you've ever worked inside the Beltway, it's just a different lifestyle. And she begrudgingly went with me, packed up the 4 kids. And after 3 months, she's like, I'm moving back to Maine. We lasted a year just for logistical purposes, right? We were in a 1-year lease. I said, well, let's give it the year. Someone was in our home in Maine, so we couldn't really break a lease 3 months in. So the next May, she packed up the 4 kids and moved home. And we had, at that time, I want to say, Callum was 1. And when we had our 4 kids, they were all under 5 years old. So we had 4 kids in 5 years. So she had a 1 to 6-year-old, 4 of them, 18 months apart about, and moved to Maine. And I would fly to DC on Monday morning, work through the week, and fly home every Friday. And we did that just because she didn't want to choke down life in DC, and she wanted to live life her way.
Wow.
And it actually worked out pretty well.
I want to ski with her, and I'm bummed out that she died. I went actually for my first day skiing today right now, so I love that we're talking about her adventures.
Nice.
It was meant to be.
Well, we have 9 ski days this year. So Saturday will be our 10th.
Yeah.
So we're skiing a lot. And we love it. It's our second passion, I guess, or another one of ours.
Do you still homeschool your kids?
How would I do that?
I don't know. I was just
the aliens. Duh.
No, I don't. I don't still homeschool them. We put them in school.
like gonna have a heart attack, I think, or something terrible thinking about you still doing that. But
It depends on how the snow goes this year. If the snow's good enough, I don't know. I might homeschool them.
Where do you guys ski back there?
We're season pass holders at Sunday River, which is a mountain in Maine. It's a boring resort, and there's a couple of great boring mountains in Maine that we ski at, but mostly Sunday River. So about Steph and how crazy she is, about 2010 timeframe, before we moved to DC and she moved back, she came home, she was running, and she goes, Kev, I got this great idea. And anytime she said that, I'm like, oh shit, because I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Anytime she says that, I think to myself, oh no.
You can say shit. It's okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we're sailors, so we talk like that. She says, I think we should buy a boat and travel and homeschool the kids and live on the boat. And I'm like, you're crazy. Nobody does that.
Oh
Nobody does that. But I know she was serious because, like I said earlier, when she says she wants to do something, she figures out a way to do it. So I kind of gave her the half, like, yeah, whatever. And nobody does it. And she sits like hounding me like every day. She's texting me blogs of families that are doing this and YouTube videos and channels. And this went on for the better part of a few years because I said, we can't, I got to finish out my Coast Guard. I can't get out of the Coast Guard now. We're too far along. I need to get to retirement. Well, in 2015, she was diagnosed with cervical cancer. And that was tough. That was a tough blow. I actually just retired from the Coast Guard. And I remember I was in a new job. It was consulting. We figured out really quickly that it probably wasn't the right job for our family because it was owning me. But it was only like 2 or 3 months in, so it was new. And I had a job down in Houston where big shipping and oil industry in Houston. So I was going down there to work. And she's like, I have this appointment. I think something's wrong. Can you cancel the trip? And I'm like, no. Like I've already missed a trip this month because of other personal reasons. Like I'm 3 months in. I don't think I can. And I was in a meeting, a checkout meeting. I was doing an audit with a shipping company. And I was in with the CEO of the company, a big publicly traded company, talking about results. And I got a text on my phone, 4-centimeter mass. And that's all it said. Like gut punch it was tough. My flight I left immediately. I was leaving anyways. My flight got canceled. I missed a connection, couldn't get home. And it was pretty rough. And the prognosis was good. She had a hysterectomy and some radiation and chemo. And they basically said, you're cured. Go live your life. So at that point, she's like, we need to buy a boat. I quickly changed jobs into a better position and we started planning. And I gave her this crazy budget that was so tiny. I thought, there's no way. But I'm playing along. Like, I'm going to let her do this. Secretly, I wanted to too. But she found a boat. Like, literally, we were going on vacation in April of 2017. And she's like, there's a boat. I've been talking to this woman on Facebook. They're a British family. They're going to sail their boat to the Bahamas when we're going to be in the Bahamas for vacation. And they're going to detour. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So we meet this family in the Bahamas, go to some deserted beach, have sundowners with them, and agree on a handshake deal to buy a boat for a price that was reasonable. And they agreed to sail it to Portland, Maine. So we shook hands in April and closed on a boat in July when they arrived.
Wow, you're lucky you didn't get scammed.
Well, yes.
I wouldn't even know how to go about buying a boat.
It's like buying a used car.
Okay, I can't do that either. So it's about the same.
Just sign over the bill of sale. They were going to go to Port Canaveral. So we just agreed on a handshake. Over the course of about 4 or 5 weeks, we kicked back and forth a Word document to come up with a sales agreement, agreed on terms, and I sent my parents, who live still in the East Coast of Florida area, a cashier's check. And the British family, pulled into Port Canaveral near my parents' house. My parents had them over for dinner. they had cocktails or something, and the family left the check with my parents. They forgot to grab the cashier's check. So it was kind of funny, but they got it to them, and it was an amazing experience. And so so we lived on a boat.
Like dock the boat, or did you go like all over the place? What did you guys do?
We sailed the boat in 2017 when we bought it around Portland to learn it, and then in summer of 2018, so June, we moved onto the boat and rented our house out. And we lived on the boat in Portland Harbor while I was working for about 3 months. And then I quit my job and we took off. So we sailed from Portland, Maine, all the way basically to Grenada, which is the further, almost southernmost island in the Eastern Caribbean. Trinidad is further south than that, but after that, it's South America. And we sailed back to Maine. So, I mean, over 10,000 nautical miles in all over the course of 2 years.
That's so cool. Did you encounter any pirates?
No.
Anita, I think that you should do this with you and your kids.
No, for
You'll be
so
trapped
many
with them
reasons.
on a boat.
I don't know how to sail, and I would have my rescue lights pointing into the water. That's how I would be functioning. And
Steph had never sailed ever.
So she learned. Yeah.
She learned, and she would operate the boat. It was a 45-foot boat. It wasn't small. Sailboats are difficult to maneuver in marinas because they're typically underpowered because you don't need big engines. They're really maneuvering. You sail the boat. And she would dock the boat and learn to sail. I remember the first time we were in rough weather, and I'm using air quotes for that because it wasn't even rough. It was like a residual swell. Remember I think he was 6 at the time, son came up not looking great. And he was standing like at the companionway when you come up the ladder well of a boat. And we're like, "Are you okay, buddy?" And he projectile vomited watermelon all over. Oh, it was bad. But it landed on our sleeping Labrador. Like literally our retriever, like puked all over this dog. And Steph's like, "I don't know, this is rough." And I'm thinking like, it's like 10 knots of wind at this point, and it's not even rough. Like, how are we going to do this? But she learned, and she was a trooper, and we did it because to get to the Caribbean, we left Virginia in November because you have to wait till hurricane season's over. And we spent 11 days offshore, and it was 1,800 nautical miles to get down to the Caribbean. So we were at one point, we were several hundred miles from any land, which on a sailboat is 3 days from help.
Wow.
And she did it.
I have a question. When I was younger, I thought that the Bermuda Triangle was a bigger problem than it turns out to be. Did you have any troubles? Did it get you? Did you have to?
That's actually how she died.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
No, we actually sailed through the Bermuda Triangle, and it at one point it was becalmed. Like we were motoring for days, no wind, and that's typical because there's a high pressure that sets up there, and there's typically no wind there. And we let the kids go swimming in 15,000 feet of water. We're like, who wants to swim?
And no sea monsters got you or anything.
No I didn't let them go too far from the boat.
What a cool experience. And I love the idea of Steph just being like, we're going to do it. It's like, sometimes do you wonder if internally or somewhere deep inside her, she knew that her time was limited and she was like, we're going to make the most out of this?
That's interesting. I think maybe. I mean, there were times she was a go-getter. Many friends describe her as, hard-nosed and difficult. And sometimes when we would argue, because we fought, we didn't have a perfect marriage, but it was a great partnership and good marriage. She would say to me things like, well, I'll be dead in a few years, or, and I don't know, when you're in the heat of an argument, you're like, well, you're just trying to get under my skin. But we never really explored that. So I don't know, but I think so. And thank God we went on the trip. So we had always planned to do 2 years and sail back to Maine and reassess, because the Maine coast in the summer is amazing and sailing it is beautiful. So COVID 2020 hit, and March, it was March when things got bad in 2020. We were in the Dutch and French island of Saint Martin, and we saw things starting to lock down. So we immediately left that night and overnight sailed to the U.S. Virgin Islands to be in a U.S. territory. So we spent most of like that March, April, May, when it was really bad in COVID, in St. John's, which is a beautiful island, with friends. I mean, we always had boat friends around. There were a ton of kids. Kids were so well socialized. But then we decided, we sailed back to Maine because of COVID, and just to see the Maine coast. And we brought, I think there were 6 or 8, we call them kid boats, boats that have kids sailing on them. So there were like 6 or 8 kid boats that sailed basically with us to Maine. And so, we had a little COVID bubble with probably, 18, 20 kids, and kids could play still because we were in the out islands of Maine and not seeing anybody. And come September of that year, 2020, we actually were going to pull the boat. And we didn't have enough money to do this indefinitely. I was retired. We were living off of that, but we were burning through savings, and I was ready to be done. And Steph never wanted to be done. She wanted to sail forever. But we agreed, due to COVID, that, a year in the Bahamas is probably wise. Like, why go back and put the kids into school or whatever during COVID? But she started having symptoms, left-sided weakness, was having trouble like with balance. And we went out to dinner for our anniversary in September, a week before we left Maine. And she couldn't walk. What is wrong? And I sat across from her at one of our favorite sushi restaurants in Portland, and like one eye was dilated and one was constricted. And I'm like, Steph, we gotta go. And she's like, I know, I've been hiding it from you. And she had a recurrence of cancer. So, and they ended up with mets in the lungs and right in her midbrain. So we went from living on a boat going to the Bahamas to being homeless in Portland with nowhere to go.
Wow.
In the worst circumstances too. Like,
in the worst circumstances.
Yeah, your cancer is back and it's in
right
places.
Right. And it's not curable, and it's terminal.
What did you do? Where did you stay? And
we sold the boat quickly. Like, people called us, so sorry about your cancer. Our life was somewhat public in the sailing community. Like, Steph blogged, and the people knew us. And we sold the boat quickly. Moved into a friend's house who weren't in their house for a few months. And then a friend of us let us stay in their ocean house, which was oceanfront summer house, which was just, a gift from God, really. It was great until the next spring, where we moved back into the house that we had never sold.
Wow. And then how long was it until she ended up dying, that you were back in your house?
She was sick September 2020. The radiation, they did radiation to the brain and started on full chemo. And I don't want to say she got better, but the symptoms disappeared short term. So we had that winter was actually somewhat normal, other than like being tired from chemo, but she was okay. But then about April or May of 21, we moved back into the house. And shortly after that, she, there were just symptoms in the brain from necrosis. Basically, the radiation, destroyed the healthy brain tissues. So then we went under the care of hospice that summer. But she lived on hospice from July, August, all the way through this April. So she passed away April of 22 on Easter Sunday.
At what point in this did you talk to your kids about what was going on?
Yeah, it's hard to hide it from the kids when you spend 2 nights in a hospital and you're living on a boat during the initial just exploratory MRI phases on CT scans. So when we came back and told the kids that, I mean, they knew at that point. And Steph was always very open very open with the kids and told them everything. And she continued to do that through her cancer journey.
How old were the kids by that time?
That was 2 years ago. So 9, 11, 13, 14, maybe.
Okay.
It's a perfect age. They're really easy at that age. So I'm sure it was fine.
Right.
Like,
No
problem.
emotional damage at all.
None.
When she was going through treatment and chemotherapy, is that when you sent them back to school? And how did that transition go for them? It's like, that's a lot of transition. You know, your mom is sick. That's like becomes your whole life. And then it's like, and you're going to back to school, which is not how you've ever done it before.
And you've lived a dream life. Like, I'm so jealous of that dream life you guys had. Holy cow. That's a big difference.
Well, we used to call it fixing boats in exotic locations because it's really not vacation all the time. And you have to get creative. I could tell you some fixes that were pretty interesting and a lot of work. And you laugh harder than you've ever laughed, but you also cry more than you've ever cried.
That sounds like widowhood.
Oh, it's a lot like widowhood.
Ugh.
Yeah, the emotions are just like intensified and heightened. The first year of 2020, we continued to homeschool. And schools were shut down, so we thought there was no point. And so we homeschooled for that year. And then we moved back into our house in 2021. So this is their second school year, I guess, because, this is their second school year back. And, my youngest is in elementary school and he's bored. The two middles are in high honors and everything and getting straight A's. And then my oldest was struggling, frankly. And she's a little bit of a different kid and a different type learner. And she ended up in a private school this year and is doing well. So I have 4 kids in 4 different schools, which is fun.
And now you're a widower and we're sorry. And it's not even been a year yet for you. So you're pretty fresh.
It's like 8 months, 7.5 months. I feel like it's been a lot longer because she was sick in 2020. And that's been going on, several years now. And we knew the outcome. She's highly connected in the Maine medical community through her work. So like we knew a lot of the doctors and we knew the outcomes pretty early. We knew she was going to die. And then she was in hospice. And really the brain tumor kind of took her away from us, close to a year before she died.
Like death before death.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
And you're having to caretake at the same time. So you're losing the person while you're having to help them. And that's just a really rough road to have to travel, especially when it's somebody who is so vibrant and full of life and was always out adventuring. It's not like you guys just like to sit in and watch TV together all the time, which is a perfectly fine thing to do, but it's just different than kind of that lifestyle of being sick,
Absolutely.
Did she have a hard time letting people help her?
On the personal stuff, yes. I think for the, call it, 10 months that she was really sick, the only people that gave her direct care was myself or her mother. Now on the tertiary, her friends were amazing and we had all the meals we needed and friends came over every day and she went on walks with them. And friends were taking kids to school and helping out in other ways. But on the personal stuff, it was, pretty close.
So it sounds like you've got a good support network around you. I'm always curious about the different support that widows get versus widowers. Do you feel like people have really rallied around you? And do you feel like people treat you like an imbecile? Like maybe you're not up to taking care of 4 kids or that you need extra help, not because you need help, but because like you're not qualified to do what needs to happen?
I think I have more wives now than I need. So like, Steph's friends look after me. I mean, I think we're doing it okay. We got a ton of help and I'm not one necessarily to ask for help. So I think we've all witnessed it. If we've gone through widowhood, is that, after the dust settles, it's like crickets. And I'm not really asking for the help And if I do need it, it's always there. But, we're kind of trying to live our lives because at some point, I think we have to face a new normal, and it's just sucks. But it's where we are.
This is such an emotional thing to go through. And you probably know that we've talked to some widowers before about this, about processing emotion. How has that been for you? Is it hard? Like, do you show emotion in front of your kids? What's that part been like? I mean, I hate showing emotion, and I'm not a widower. I'm a widow. So
I'm a sap, so I've always showed emotion. I wear it on my sleeve. My kids joke at me and say I cry at everything. I honestly cry more than my kids do, and I think it's healthy. Yeah, I let them see that side of me. And just tonight, there was an emotional thing. Like, I almost didn't make the interview. Like, with 4 kids, like, what's going on? It was over our Christmas tree. So one of my kids really wanted to cut down a Christmas tree, and that's our tradition. Like, that was our tradition, but traditions change after widowhood, and it was really hard to get around decorating this year. So we're skiing on the weekends. There's no time to cut down a Christmas tree. It's, they're already all cut down. So like, I'd go and wouldn't even find one. So I literally went to the Highland, to our local greenhouse who has Christmas trees, and they were out, but a truck just showed up. He's like, this is the last 100 we're getting. And they're all bundled up, and they're from northern Maine. So I'm like, they got to be somewhat decent. And I'm looking for the right size one. And I'm like, oh, I have an interview coming up. And then one guy's like, I'll just take that one. And it was wrapped up still like tight, like in a ball, like how they transport them. I'm like, ooh, this is kind of fun, like the lottery. I'm like, that one looks like the right size. I'll do the same. I got home and opened it up, and it's kind of a bad tree, but it's kind of funny, right? Like, it's part of the story. Like, this is what we are. We're kind of a funny family at this point, and this just is reflective of that. And one of my daughters had a huge fit, and not a fit, but just she broke down crying, and she's like, that was always our tradition. I can't believe your dad. I'm like, can I just, like, you want the redo? And I'm like, Mairead, it's a tree. We could donate this to somebody. If you want to cut down a tree, we'll go tomorrow. And now I still have to finish that when we get off this call.
So to be determined what the fate of this tree is.
To be determined what the fate of the tree is.
That's so hard, though. I run into this all the time. It's kind of this, you have your own grief and you have the ways that you want to deal with it. But then you have these other 4 human beings who also have their own grief. And sometimes it's troublesome. Not troublesome, that's the wrong word. Sometimes it's hard because they don't really understand life yet and the practicalities of life, right? So it's like, I want to cut down a Christmas tree. And you're like, yeah, that would be really great. And I would like to do that too. But I have to do everything now. So there might not be time for that. It's so hard because it's another loss for them. And so you feel bad because you're delivering another loss. But then practicality says, like, sometimes you have to let those things go. And it's just like a battle on top of a battle for you.
And it's the first Christmas for you guys without her.
Right. So it's a challenge to manage all of that.
How do you do it? How are you doing it? You just giving in right now? Just like, just have whatever you want.
There's been a little of that. I can say I'm not doing it very well all the time, but try just to be authentic, right? If it's too much for that day, I'll say that. Like, I'm not in it tonight. We're not gonna make that decision. We laugh a lot because our life looks different than if Steph were here. We have an Xbox that would never, ever be allowed. We have cell phones in our house, which also would never have been allowed. And we use them as parenting tools. And honestly, Steph, like, we laugh. We're like, Mom would kill you, Dad, if she knew. Like,
what are their favorite games on Xbox? I have to know.
Well, my son plays it mostly. And he's a sports guy, so like Madden, FIFA, MLB, but he's a Fortnite kid.
Nice.
So he
Nice.
plays Fortnite a lot. Yeah, pretty good at it too.
I also identify with that. It's like when you go to the pediatrician before you go, we have to have this conversation. When they ask you how much screen time, you say 2 hours.
Oh, I
It's
didn't know they asked that.
Oh, they do now. And I'm just like, you know what? Sometimes it's just survival. It's like,
They should go, my dad's dead and I watch it 19 hours. What's your problem?
19 and 22 hours a day. Yeah, that's where we are right now.
That's no big deal.
I got a letter from Callum, my youngest son, or my only son, but my youngest, from his school today that, am I aware he's missed 11 days of school out of the 60? Well, we went to Florida for 6 days because my family's there and my mother has Alzheimer's and she's declining. And we wanted to do the family thing. And he was sick 3 days and he got, cavities filled 1 day because, as a widower, like I just say, brush your teeth. It's up to them if they do it. And then we went skiing a day. And I had all these like hints in this letter, like, oh, make sure they get a balanced dinner and pack your lunch before. And I don't know how I'm going to respond to that letter, but I feel the need to.
Wait, they told you that you need to pack lunch before? Like seriously?
Well, it was like a list of tips to get your kids to school. I'm like,
they were
like,
that's like normal. Is this what parents deal with?
Well, it's just like they're just trying to be helpful, because
it's like you don't. Okay,
obviously you're failing, and so you need a little help because you can't figure it out.
But who on the planet does not know that?
It's a good question.
I think it's rude.
I hear you. I understand.
I'm not mad at you. I'm on your side. I'm like mad for you guys.
Yeah, I've gotten those types of letters too. I mean, in fact, while we're talking, I just got one from the junior high, and it's like, are you aware that your child has made zero progress on their science project?
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, yes, no, actually, I wasn't aware, but now I am. And also, I'm not doing anything about it. So thank you.
Don't those letters, like, they just like rub me a little bit.
Oh,
not in a positive way.
No.
It's micromanaging.
It's so hard too, because you just want to scream in their face, like, do you even know what's important?
Right.
Do you know where where all of my efforts and energy are going? It's not this,
Right.
And we are in survival mode. So what I need from you is a letter saying, do you know that your child made it to 49 out of the 60 days? You're crushing it, right?
Glass half full, people.
And some of those days they had a lunch. Are you kidding me? High five.
Right?
Okay, I'm going to write you some letters, Kevin, and we'll just exchange like good job letters.
Man, I feel like we need to make some stickers for this situation.
It's got to be something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just feeling seen right now by Kevin. I hope you feel seen by me also.
I feel you.
So you're about 8 months in. You haven't hit your year mark, and you guys are just figuring it out right now. Do you have other widowers or people who are in your same situation that you've been able to talk to and get support from?
It's funny you should ask. There are a few. In my community, we have friends, and the wife died probably 2017, so several years ago, but he's been a great support to me, and we hang out a lot and talk quite a bit. There's a great support network in Maine, Patrick Dempsey. I don't know if you know who he is.
Isn't he
the actor?
Yeah, isn't he on Grey's Anatomy?
Yeah, like Grey's Anatomy guy.
Yeah, which I've never watched, but
he's from Maine, and his mother passed away of cancer, I believe. And he started a foundation here called the Dempsey Center, and it provides, all free services to cancer patients and families of cancer patients, and they've been wonderful. And I still, see a counselor through there. I'm still seeing one. And the kids have seen counselors from there. They have caregiving support groups, and Steph was in a support group when she was sick. So there's a lot of.
We hear a lot that, young widows have a hard time finding support. And I feel like young widowers almost have a little bit harder of a time just because there's less of that social and being open emotionally in men. So I'm glad that you've got some people around you to talk to you about it.
Yeah, there's when Steph first got sick, a friend of ours who works in the neuro world, and she had a brain tumor, and she was a good friend of ours, reached out to us and said, "Oh, there's another family in Maine, and the husband is very sick, going through the same thing." And we kind of talked amongst, like, I would talk through Steph's friend, and the other family would talk through Steph's friend. And to the point where when Steph got really sick, that was when the husband just passed away. So it was, the year before Steph died. And the wife, who is now a widow, is a child life specialist and works in child therapy, kind of, and was giving me resources through Steph's friend, and I was reading all this stuff and using it. And her and I have actually since connected. She reached out and connected, and she's got 5 kids through 2 marriages. Some are stepkids, and I've got 4, and we hang out a lot, quite often, and have actually started to kind of see each other a little bit.
Have you? That's a lot of kids. That's 9 children.
It's
just
crazy.
To count that. And will 9 people fit? 9 children fit on a sailboat?
No.
Okay.
Nor will they ever desire that to be.
Oh boy.
How is that going as far as freshness of losing Steph? And are you guys pretty open? I imagine that you would be.
I think that's why it works, because we're so open and hold space for each other. We joke and say it's a relationship of 4.
It's a very complex relationship.
Because I don't ever want to replace her.
Yeah.
Nor does she want to replace her husband or forget. Like, we had a lot of great years, and I know Steph would want me to be happy, and I'm trying to do what's best for the kids. And at this point, it's healthy for the kids. Like, she provides like some support to them, and our kids are all friends and they hang out.
I was going to ask that. So how old's your oldest daughter?
16.
16. Okay. Same with my daughter. How did she react to the idea of you being in another relationship? Was she cool with it, or was there some tension there?
They all are actually very supportive, surprisingly.
That's not normal, just so you know. That's pretty unusual. We talk to a lot of people in the teenage years, and especially, this is just observation. This has no, statistics, but the teenage daughters have a really hard time with the idea of dating again, with their parent dating again. So that's cool. I'm glad that you're not having to stress about that on top of just trying to navigate widowhood, parenthood, dating-ish status with a new person too.
Yeah, and I've been very open with them. And if it were problematic with the kids, well, we'd have to address that, because I would never, like, if it weren't healthy for the kids, I don't think it would work.
Yeah. That's another balance beam to walk on, right? What's good for you and what's good for the kids, and how do you decide what's the priorities? And yeah,
it's a pretty narrow balance beam.
This is really important. I need to know, how many of them ski of her kids, and does she ski?
Recreationally, they all ski. So my kids are nuts. So
Are they racers?
two of the four are in a weekend hardcore race program. One of them is in a freestyle program. And then one of them actually is an entrepreneur and started an on-mountain babysitting service. So she goes to ski-in condos and watches kids so that the parents can ski together.
That's such a good idea.
Anita,
she makes bank.
Yeah, and I bet you can charge a lot for that too.
You
Send her
can.
to Utah and we'll make good use of her. We'll be fine.
Perfect.
You guys should all come to Utah. You can ski with Mel. She'll take you to the places.
yeah,
It'll be
you can
amazing.
ski on the dry, beautiful snow here. It's amazing.
It sounds perfect. Better than the ice.
The problem, though, I'm so sorry to tell you, though, is that then you'll get a letter saying, "Are you aware that your son has missed 19 days of school?" And you'll just have to flip him off, like with your eyes and with your mind.
Oh my gosh.
That's worth it.
I know.
Totally.
I have a question. And it might be an impossible question. Have you been able to envision what you want your life to look like going forward?
That is a tough question because there's so many different facets to life to consider. I think in some ways we're still living Steph's honor or voyage. We had a Facebook page called Live the Voyage, and that was like a mantra of ours. Like, it's not about where you're going, it's about how you're getting there. And I think in the genesis or the core behind that was like, just live the life you imagined. Like, don't choke down life. So many people make excuses, and the what you say, and the side of a soccer field is, oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I'm so busy. It's like a badge of honor. How busy is one family, and how many activities can you stuff down your kid's throat? And that was the opposite of Steph. She's like, take time to enjoy life, take time to have a purpose. And not everybody's voyage is on a sailboat, but just live with a passion. And I think we're still doing that. So I'm kind of like, yeah, I kind of can envision it. The kids love to ski now. I see that as being a big part of our lives. And I'll knock on your door in Utah someday, I'm sure, because kids really want to get west. Professionally, I think in a job that I like and I can be in for a while, it's not, the pinnacle of my career. I could go further, but I don't think I have that luxury with 4 kids and raising them, and I'm okay with that. And I do want to, date and find somebody else. I think the kids deserve that if it's healthy. But that doesn't mean I want to forget. Past is pretty good.
So you kind of said something that made me think a little bit, that you're living Steph's voyage, right? What her mantra was. And I'll be curious to see as your life unfolds, if at some point you say to yourself, like, now it's time to live our voyage, and our voyage is going to be different than the one that Steph laid out. And I'm sure that there will be parts that you'll keep from Steph's mantra and her way of seeing things. But I will be curious to see how life unfolds. And if at some point in time, there'll be times where you say, this is what Steph would have done, but we're going to do it this way now because we're our new, it's almost like you created a new family, even though you've just taken somebody out. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure. And I think we've started that slowly. And when I say, live the voyage, I believe in live the voyage. Like, I believe wholeheartedly that we need to enjoy life, and don't let life drive you, drive life. Like, just like skiing, if you get in the back seat of your skis, the skis drive you, you're going to kill yourself. You got to drive the ski, right? Take control. And if you don't like something, change it. And I think what having the courage to go sailing did for me, I thought, like, I left a professional job, like a good professional job. And I was scared to death. And guess what? It was okay. So it gave me that like courage to know that like life's going to be okay. And like, if you don't like your job, leave it. If you don't like your town, move. If your kids don't like the school and they're not thriving, find another school. My oldest was failing out of school, and she came to me and said, I want to go to the local ski school, Gould Academy, which is $60,000 a year prep school. And I laughed at her and I said, good luck. And I said, well, we can look at schools like that in financial aid next year, but you just need to go to the local high school in January. She was in an online program. And she's like, I won't do it. I won't. And I said, okay, then you're on your own. She came down the next morning. She said, Dad, I'll consider our local high school for this winter term if you help navigate private schools with me. And I'm like, I am all in, kid. And we did it. And she's at what is collectively known as one of probably the best school in Maine, downtown Portland, day school, with a financial aid package that would make me blush. And it was because of her driving it. So she's living it. Like, she's didn't like what she saw at 16 years old and asked to change it.
She sounds a little like Steph, somebody I've heard about. Like,
yes.
I'm not taking no for an answer. We will figure out a way to do this, which probably, if your kids have that piece of her, and if you have a piece of her like that, you're gonna like crush Widowhood.
Oh yeah.
Right?
And like she set you all up with what it takes some people a whole entire lifetime, or that some people never ever learn, is to enjoy things as they're going along, or to do the adventure. Oh, what a beautiful message. Thank you, Steph. Dang it. Why is she not here?
I know. But we would never have known about her as a person. It's the great irony.
Kevin, if she has another plan, your daughter, just know that there's Romark Ski Academy in Salt Lake, and we also have a Woodward nearby. So there's like year-round ski things and schools. If you guys do come visit and you like the snow better here.
I'm sure the snow would be better.
Yeah.
I think we even have the Coast Guard here, which has always confused me because we're very landlocked. But anyway, I'm sure there are opportunities. Just come on out. It'll be fine. Yeah. Oh, Kevin, we have one question that we need to ask you before we finish up. Mel, do you want to do that for us?
Yes. What is your favorite cheese?
I'm a cheese connoisseur.
Oh,
great.
There's a local store in my small town of Scarborough called the Cheese Iron. And you go in there and I just say, I just want some cheese. And I've never been done wrong. So I don't know that I have a favorite. I love an aged Gouda, like super aged, like where it's salty and nutty. But goat cheese, the stinkier, the better.
I love that you can just be like, give me some cheese. And they're like, here you are, sir.
You cheesemonger.
There's this local cheese. I think it's called like a Bezio or something. And it's made locally. And it is just right now my favorite.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Kevin, and letting us get to know Stephanie a little bit better and to just learn from the both of you a little bit about how life could be lived. We're going to take that with us. Make sure you check out the Widow Wives Club. It's our private online Facebook group, and just answer all the questions and don't get mad at us. Thanks so much. If you want to keep the podcast going, check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
If you'd like to buy us tacos, go to buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonoww.
And until we get to talk to you again, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
I'm Kevin.
And we're just two young widows and a widower who's living the voyage. And we're all just trying to figure out, widow,
we
do
now. This is my favorite thing to discuss with you.
Tell me, what is it?
One of my favorite things. I do enjoy tacos and cheese and dogs. This is about how you cannot pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a phone plan, especially when you're a widow, your person is dead, you might have kids, you might need another option, and you just want your phone to work, you want unlimited texting and service, and you want it to be like $25 a month.
It blows my mind that they have plans that start at $15 a month. That is so cheap. And the cool thing is it uses other 5G networks. And so you don't have to pay extra for that. And you still get great service.
Yep. Anita and I have traveled all over and I have used my phone. So I highly recommend it. And my mom's even on it. When my dad died, we put his phone down to the cheapest plan, which is $15 a month. And I think my mom's on the $20 a month plan, and it's so worth it. It's so much cheaper than what we were all paying before. So I highly recommend it if you're on a budget or not. Who cares? Ryan Reynolds is in charge of the company, and they send you free stickers with Ryan Reynolds temporary tattoos. It's kind of the best. So if somebody wants to sign up, what can they do, Anita?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. Seriously, you guys, such a great idea. Save yourself some money.
And if you're worried about losing data or having any changes with your phone, not going to happen. They walk you through it. Everything's fine. It's the easiest process of all time. Again, that's
trymintmobile.com/WWDN.